So Tesla, they unveiled the Semi last night. I had to sleep during the event, but I got to watch it this morning while I was getting dressed. And y'all, I almost could have ended up being late to work this morning. I was so pumped up watching it. I almost didn't want to go to work. I was, I'm still really impressed on what I saw. That everything beat my expectations. First off, the range, 500 miles, fully loaded. Really? I, I thought 500 miles would have been at the high end, and maybe they would come back later and say, well, that's 500 miles with an empty trailer or something like that. And maybe it's 500 miles fully loaded. That's crazy. Fully loaded at 60 miles an hour. That's amazing. The one problem I did have with that, they never said how much the truck weighs. I'm gonna have to look for it again. Maybe they've mentioned it since, but they didn't give the exact weight of the trucks. So at 80,000 pounds, I would like to know how much the truck weighs as compared to another truck. I mean, if it's about the same weight, then it doesn't matter. But because of the batteries or whatever, if the Tesla Semi has to weigh twice as much as a normal truck, that means you can't carry as much in the load. So that would be important to know. I doubt it's that much heavier, but I would like to know. So when you're bobtailing, driving without a trailer, the 0 to 60 is 5 seconds. That's scary. I guess it's good that it can only do it that fast without a trailer, because you would probably just destroy your load if you tried to take off that fast. And 0 to 60 in 20 seconds with a fully loaded trailer. And a lot of that is made possible by the 0.36 drag coefficient that they somehow managed. And that's better than a lot of cars. So that's really impressive. Another thing that I liked was it can go 65 miles per hour up a 5% grade. That means it has some power to it. If you're in a truck and you're going up a hill or going over like a tall bridge or something, and you have a load, once you get the full load of the truck going up that hill, you can feel like the monkey jump on your back, and it just starts slowing down almost to a point where it's a little dangerous and cars have to start going around you. And if it can go up those hills at 65 miles an hour, which is right around the speed that most trucks are governed anyway, then you wouldn't even notice a difference when you're going up those inclines. A lot of trucks are governed right at 65 miles per hour. Our trucks are governed at 65. Some companies go to 67 and 70, and there are other companies that are as low as 63, and some are all the way down to 58. So that's plenty speed for most people's use. One thing that I thought was brilliant is they have these side flaps on the back of the truck that track the trailer that you're pulling. It basically decreases the gap in between the truck and the trailer. In my truck, there's about a 5-foot gap between the truck and the trailer, and all that does is disrupt the air and mess up the drag coefficient and make you a lot less efficient when you're going down the highway. One thing that they kind of hinted at earlier, they said it would be a bunch of Model 3 motors, and it's a bunch of motors, 4 of them to be exact. One on each wheel, on the drive axles. They also said even if 2 of those motors went out, it would still be able to out accelerate a diesel powered truck. And that's crazy. That's like the first time you hear that an airplane can still land if one of the engines fail. Like okay, you lose 2 engines and I mean you lose 2 motors and you can still roll and still be better than another truck. That's crazy. I am having a hard time controlling my excitement. When they said the Tesla pickup truck was going to be a smaller version of the Tesla Semi, they were not kidding. It really is. And apparently the Tesla pickup truck is perfectly fine carrying another pickup truck. And I think that bodes well for the pickup truck market. That's kind of a we're bigger than you, we're bagger than you type of market, and I'm not really a big truck commercial guy, but one of my favorite truck commercials is one where there's one truck and it's pulling another truck out of the water. It looked like it just went under when it was trying to put a boat in the boat landing. And that's kind of like what I'm seeing here with the Tesla semi. It's like, well, our truck is going to be a lot bigger than yours, and it's going to be a lot better than yours. Like the Tesla pickup truck seems more like a flatbed tow truck than it does a regular pickup truck. That it looks massive. I want to see if it's going to stay that big when they get it to a point where they have some test versions out on the streets. Okay, back to the semi. For charging it, they're planning on doing solar-powered mega chargers that will be capable of adding 400 miles of range in 30 minutes. I think in one of my earlier videos, I was talking about the 30-minute break that truck drivers have to take, and if they can have, like 100 miles here or maybe a couple 100 miles during that 30-minute break, then you can kind of get away with having a smaller battery. Now, since the range that they talked about was fully loaded range, and if you started your trip off with 500 miles of range and you had to take your 30-minute break and you added 400 miles, you could hypothetically go 900 miles in a day, which is basically impossible because you're only allowed to drive 11 hours a day. Another thing they announced is that enhanced autopilot will be standard. The truck will be able to automatically stop if it needs to. The truck will be able to keep itself in the lanes. And the truck will also be able to call for emergency medical response in case of an emergency, which is something I would have never thought about, but things happen when you're out there by yourself on the road. People can pass out. The driver can have like a heart attack or anything when you're out there on the road by yourself. And if you're using a regular truck on cruise control, it's just going to go until it crashes into something. So that's going to be really huge. Of course, it's going to have a low center of gravity. That basically means all the batteries are going to be near the bottom of the truck. And it's going to have jackknife prevention, which I've been told is one of the scariest accidents that you can have in a truck. I've seen a couple jackknife trucks on the side of the roads and some accidents we've had out here, and I cannot imagine how scary it would be to look out your window and see your trailer coming ready to smash into you. They also guaranteed it wouldn't break down for 1 million miles, and that's an important number for trucks because for people who are over the road, it's not uncommon to get over 1 million miles. They said the brake pads will basically last forever. Anyone who's familiar with electric cars and knows about regenerative braking knows that you just don't use the brakes nearly as much as you do in a car. And it's almost scary to drive a regular car without regenerative braking because it feels like it's just going out of control. It's not slowing itself down like you used to. And if you are watching the event and thinking to yourself that, Elon hasn't said anything crazy and over the top yet, he then said thermonuclear explosion-proof glass. Yeah. I don't know how expensive the glass in trucks are, but they do get chipped a lot. So I think a lot of people will appreciate this. Even in a lot of trucks, they'll split the windshield into two pieces just so you don't have to replace the whole thing if one side gets chipped. Because usually the ride is so rough, once you get one of those little star chips in it, you'll have a nice crack all the way across the windshield by the time you make it to somewhere where you could repair it. They didn't announce a price, which shouldn't surprise anyone, but they did say it would save about $200,000 worth of fuel. They also said, worst case scenario, it would be 20% cheaper than a diesel truck from day one. They also talked about platooning and using a truck convoy, and using that system, diesel-powered trucks would be twice as expensive. And at that point, it would also be cheaper to use Tesla semis as opposed to rail, which have long been the king of transporting large amounts of things across the country. And I still have a little time to save because production doesn't begin until 2019. A couple thoughts on the interior. The first thing that sticks out is it appears to sit really low. And if you think about it, the only reason that trucks sit up high is so you can see over the massive engine that's in front of you. And since this one doesn't have that, only thing there is a little frunk. And a good thing about it being so low is you could likely reduce injuries just from truck drivers falling off the trucks. It happens a lot more than you think. All it takes is a little slip, and in some trucks that is a significant fall to just come plummeting to the ground, usually on some hard surface. One thing I like is you have the driver's seat just right in the middle. You have these dual screens to each side. Half of the screen is basically replacing a mirror on each side, and the other half of the screen just shows all of the necessary information that you need. I don't think not having a passenger seat in the front is going to be an issue. That's really only used for training, and I don't see anything that shows that this is going to be a hard truck to teach someone to drive. I don't think it'll be hard for someone to be trained with a trainer in the backseat or to learn from a trainer while sitting in the backseat, especially with the mirrors being removed and having the screens inside of the truck, and you have a good vantage point to see everything that the trainer or what the trainee can see. They did show one picture that kind of made me scratch my head, and it was about the clutter of third-party accessories. I don't know whose truck that was, but that person needs to stop. That person needs to cut that out. It looked like he was running like 3 GPS units, and he had his logbook on this digital thing like right in his face, like he just needed to have it open for some reason. And I thought that was strange. That was a little over the top. I do like the way the inside of the Tesla looks, but that was kind of a cheap shot. I don't think anybody really runs their truck like that, and if they do, they need to stop because a lot of that was illegal anyway. I guess I wanted more pictures of the inside of the truck, but I'm not too surprised that they didn't show much because that's probably going to change a lot between now and whenever they start making them in 2019. On the exterior, I'm a little curious about the camera placement, since that's going to be really important, since that will be replacing the mirrors. And I'm wondering if they have a solution for blind spots. I'm hoping that maybe they'll have another camera that can point towards something relevant whenever you get the truck and the trailer in an angle where one of your cameras is just pointing off into the space, or like the mirror sometimes, and it's not useful anymore. Also, the looks of the truck, I think it looks okay. I'm not in love with the look. I kind of feel the same way about the way the Tesla Semi looks as I felt about the original Roadster. Like, I'm not in love with the design, even though the Roadster was technically a Lotus, but I do love what it represents, and I really, really want one. And I've personally never really cared what trucks look like anyway. Like, I think the best looking truck on the road is the International Lone Star. It's a really cool looking truck. Lots of chrome, and the angles and the front is a lot different than just about every other truck on the road. But I would never consider buying that truck even if I had the money to blow on it. So I'm extremely excited about the Tesla Semi, and I gotta figure out a way to get myself in one. If I somehow get 46 more referrals, I'll be able to get that Roadster free. And anyone who has used or will use my referral code will be entered into my own personal drawing for a Model 3. That's right, I will give away a Model 3 if I can win that Roadster and sell it. That's right, I will give away a Model 3 if I win that Roadster and sell it. That's how serious I am about trying to get that Semi. Like, I like the Roadster, but I want the Semi. So we're gonna do this exactly how we did with the Orignal wheels. We'll go live. We'll put everybody's name in a. I don't know if we can put it on that website again because that didn't work well. We might just have to write them down and put them in a bucket. I think that might be more efficient. Or, however we do it. And that person will have 48 hours to claim the prize.